Before I get into today's AEW discussion video, I just want to briefly touch on the horrible news that we got yesterday as of recording. The news of the passing of AEW star Mr. Brodie Lee, formerly WWE's Luke Harper, sadly passed away at the age of 41. Absolutely tragic news. My thoughts are with his family and his loved ones and his friends. So many amazing stories coming out about how good of a man Brodie Lee was. And it's just absolutely horrible. He had so much more to offer the wrestling business. He was an amazing talent. I was such a big fan of him, both in WWE and AEW. And it's just absolutely tragic. So rest in peace, Mr. Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, and my thoughts are with his family. But anyways, moving on to a more positive note, today's AEW discussion video is going to be on trios titles, or six-man tag team championships, whatever you'd like to call it. We're going to go over the pros and cons of whether or not AEW should introduce a trios championship into their title fold. Now, recently there was actually a video conference which Tony Khan said the following when he was asked about if AEW were considering introducing trios titles. Yes, there is, but it won't be in 2020. If it happens, it will most likely be in 2021. I've been seriously thinking about it. I think there's a lot of momentum for it. We have a lot of great trios teams. I would like to get through 2020. I'd like to get to Beach Break and moving towards Revolution, but I definitely think it is something on my agenda, and it's something I've been talking about for a long time and thinking about. So more than likely, we will be seeing trios titles in AEW in 2021. Today, I'm going to discuss some of the pros and cons of these titles. First, we're going to get into the cons, and then we're going to move to the more positive side of things. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, AEW already has quite a few titles in the fold. We've got the World Championship, the TNT Championship, the Women's Championship, and the regular tag titles, as well as titles that sort of drift in and out or aren't really officially recognized. We have the NWA Women's Championship, which has been featured a lot, and we have Brian Cage, who has the FTW title, which hasn't really properly been recognized, but it might happen at some point. Maybe it'll be like a hardcore title, but who knows. But regardless, there's already a lot of titles in the fold here. Not to mention the fact that AEW only has 2 hours of weekly television, aside from Dark, but Dark isn't really properly like a second brand right now. It's more of just enhancement talent and things to build up people's win-loss records. So it may honestly be wise of AEW to wait until a potential second show has launched in order to introduce a new title to the fold. It's already hard enough to fit the 4 titles, as well as the other ones that sometimes come in and out, into the weekly Dynamite episodes. But then again, having those titles not featured every week and, sort of moving in, moving out may help them feel a bit more important. Because, when you look over to WWE, you probably care a little bit less about the Raw and SmackDown Tag Championships if the same people are having the same matches every single week. So it may make things a little bit interesting if they're not featured as prominently. Now to go to the point of a couple of AEW wrestlers. During a press conference, I believe after Fyter Fest, the first one, not this year's, the Young Bucks actually said they didn't want to introduce the titles because, again, oversaturation. They didn't want to have too many titles. They wanted to keep it simple. And they did say, of course, it could change. Obviously, at the time, we only actually had the AEW World Championship, so it was very early into the promotion. But I feel like they would probably work a little bit more now than, obviously, when AEW was just starting out. Moving over to another established tag team in AEW, former tag team champions FTR, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. They also, again, were not in favor of the 6-man titles as of now, just to the fact that the tag division itself still needs more time to establish, which I can understand, but I feel like it's had enough time at this point, even though we've only really had, 4 proper champions? But regardless, I can definitely see the point of view as to why AEW would not want to introduce these titles. Moving on to the pro side of things, there's a lot of good reasons for the trios titles to be introduced, or the 6-man tag team championships, which I think would probably sound better than trios championship or something like that. But the first reason is that there are so many potential teams that you could have contend for these titles, and a lot of which are currently in the tag division and are less likely to win the tag titles than they would be to be high contenders or even trios tag champions. Just to run down a few potential teams that I've kind of put together in my head, or which, some of which are obvious. We've got Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, the Elite, the current world and tag team champion holders. It would instantly make the titles feel very important, but at the same time, I feel like they shouldn't really go to the Elite because we want to feature guys who already don't have titles and build the division up, with a tournament or something. We could see the guys that I would definitely want to be the first champions, of course, featured in the thumbnail. We've got Death Triangle, the Lucha Bros and Pac. We've got SCU, the first actual tag champs, Jurassic Express. We could have any combination of the Dark Order, any combination of the Inner Circle. We could do Matt Hardy and Private Party. You could do the Nightmare Family with Cody, Dustin, and QT Marshall. Eddie Kingston and the Butcher and the Blade. You could have Team Taz with Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Powerhouse Hobbs. The Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. And I'm sure you could certainly make a bunch of other teams up in your head. It'd be great to have a big tournament with all these teams in it, similar to what they did for the tag titles or the various other tournaments that AEW has had. I think it would be a really interesting addition to the fold. Another pro is how well that these titles have worked in other promotions. Ring of Honor's got a 6-man tag team championship. New Japan's got the Never Openweight, and a whole bunch of other companies, primarily in Mexico and Japan. The tag titles do work if they're booked properly. Another pro is that would be something different from WWE, because WWE does not have a 6-man tag team championship right now. One of the few things that they could have that would be original and, you know, not the same as the competition. It would certainly be different. It would give a lot of AEW roster members something else to fight for, and I honestly think it would really work. In my opinion, yes, AEW should introduce 6-man tag team championships as some sort of a tournament culminating at a pay-per-view, but I do see the point of view of FTR, the Young Bucks, Tony Khan, where they want to wait a bit, maybe until they have a second show or until they feel like they can introduce them properly, maybe when crowds come back. But I think honestly the title would really work. I'd really like to see AEW implement it somehow. I think it'd be something different and something that I would really like to see. So feel free to let me know down in the comments below, would you like to see a trios or 6-man tag team championship introduced in AEW? Make sure to subscribe to the channel for similar AEW discussion videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. Thank you.